What if I told you a perfect street car isn't the loudest, or the lowest, or the most extreme? What if perfection was hiding in plain sight? Car modification is all about personal expression. There are so many ways to make your car your own. But today, I want to show you an approach that I've fallen in love with over the years. The OEM Plus approach. See this car? Most people will drive right past it. But those who know, they know. They notice the perfect stance, the refined presence, the balance of performance and practicality. If you're looking to build a street car that's fun, capable, well sorted, but without the excess or the discomfort, this might be exactly what you're looking for. But first things first, this video is specifically about street cars and daily drivers. If you're building a dedicated track car or show car or anything specialized, then you probably already know exactly what you want to do with it. This is for everyone who drives their car every day and wants something a little bit more special. Oh yeah, and I've also made a video where I talked about why you shouldn't modify your street car like it's a race car. And well, some people didn't quite get what I meant. Some thought that I'm completely against modding cars in general, and that couldn't be further from the truth. And if you haven't seen that video yet, definitely go check it out first. So today I want to show you exactly how to modify your car the right way. I'll break down the modifications and give you concrete examples that actually make sense for the car you drive every single day. So what exactly is OEM Plus? Imagine taking everything great about your car and making it better. It's not about keeping things stock, it's about thoughtful upgrades that enhance the driving experience while maintaining reliability and usability of your car. The factory engineers did an incredible job designing our cars, balancing performance, comfort and practicality. OEM Plus builds on that foundation in a way that feels natural, like the version engineers wanted to make but couldn't due to regulations, cost cutting or market decisions. You see, automakers tailor their cars to broad audiences, making compromises on what they think different markets and end users want. Sometimes that means sacrificing performance, feel or practicality. Take my E46 330 Ci for example. It was built as a sporty all-arounder, meant to handle well and feel engaging, but also comfortable enough for a parent to take their kid to soccer practice. But what if you're not a soccer mom and you want a more sharp, dialed-in driving experience, but without making your car into a full-blown race car? That's where OEM Plus comes in. It's about refining your car to meet your standards, stripping away compromises made for mass appeal, and unlocking its true potential. With an OEM Plus approach, you're not just modifying your car, you're fine-tuning it into a car it should have been if it was designed just for enthusiasts like us. The best OEM Plus builds are the ones that make people do a double take. You know, when they ask, is that stock? And you're like, nope. You know, I always find inspiration in factory perfect cars. Think Porsche GT3 with a touring package. It might sound a bit cliche, you know, since everyone seems to be on that train right now, but forget about the hype for a moment. This car is a masterclass in blending performance with everyday usability. Or a Lotus Emira, a beautifully balanced driver's car. And then on the other end of the spectrum you have cars like Alpina B3. You know, sometimes I wonder if I'd prefer it over the M3. It strikes a perfect balance between power and comfort for the street, making it a seriously tempting alternative, you know. These are the cars I often admire and ask myself, can I shape my own into something like this? Yeah, I have spawned into a new day, we have some snow, but now let's actually talk about upgrades that make your car better while keeping it enjoyable to drive every single day. Lighter and wider wheels, wider tires, proper fitment. You know, it's amazing how much difference this makes. I'm talking staying in the original manufacturer's recommended wheel and tire sizes. Typically, I do it like this. I go to wheelsize.com, select my make and model of the car, and then scroll down to the biggest and widest factory option for my car. You can go with OEM style wheels or aftermarket ones, but here's the key. If you go with aftermarket wheels, make sure they're the same weight or lighter than OEM style wheels of the same size. If they're heavier, you're just adding unwanted weight, and that's the last thing you want, especially when it comes to your unsprung mass. But here's the thing, if your car isn't really near the top of the lineup in terms of power, you don't need to go crazy with wheel and tire sizes. You know, this is primarily a BMW YouTube channel, and I'm coming from the world of BMWs, so I'll make an example on a BMW E46 316i. You know, I wouldn't go for the widest option on that car because it just doesn't have the horsepower to make the most out of, let's say, 255s in the rear, even though they are technically within the manufacturer's recommended sizes. You know, you've got to match performance with the car's capabilities, not just looks. You won't really hurt the car, but it will feel a bit sluggish and, you know, not as playful, as with 205s for example. If your primary goal is looks, then it's okay, but just be mindful that those wider tires will take away from the experience. Your car will handle and have more grip in high-speed corners, but everything in between will feel a bit too much. You know, that's just something to think about when choosing your wheels and tires. Also, the factory wheel offset was carefully chosen, so stay close to it if you want to keep the handling predictable. And scrub radius is a real thing. You know, you go too wide and the steering wheel will get heavy. You'll ruin front-rear suspension communication, and the car will probably tramline like crazy, meaning the wheels will follow every groove and imperfection of the road surface, and it will pull on your steering wheel. The same goes for using thick spacers. They'll mess with how your car feels like through corners and will completely throw off handling. And now, good tires. It's literally where the rubber meets the road. I really wouldn't cheap out here. Get a quality set of performance street tires. I wouldn't go for semi-slicks, since those are usually very bad in the rain. Plus, they kinda need to heat up properly before they start working. Plus, you know, they can wear out pretty fast, but that really depends on the tire make and model. But yeah, like with everything, always do your own research, and even then you probably not even know if they're good for you. Tires are tricky. I would go for something street performance. You know, go through some forums, see what people are saying, and go for something that suits your needs. But if you do a lot of back road and canyon drives and live in a warm area where it doesn't really rain much, then semi-slicks can be a good choice. Quality lowering springs with matched dampers, and the keyword here is matched dampers. I'm pretty sure there's a wide variety of lowering kits out there for your car. You know, the ones that lower your car for about 20 to 40 millimeters without sacrificing comfort or ruining your suspension geometry. Why springs and dampers but not coilovers? Well, everybody does not need the adjustability of coilovers. Some of us just like the set it and forget it approach. You know, we just want something that works. And here's the thing, for the same price as a quality set of springs and dampers, you're often looking at coilovers that are just okay at best. You ask why? Well, these coilovers are usually not made of stainless steel, which means you're looking at threads that could rust over time, especially if you live in a place with a lot of rain or salty roads. Now think about this logically. If one manufacturer sells a single damper for 200 bucks, that's 800 bucks for the whole set. So how can another company produce a complete set of coilovers with adjustable ride height, damping, and all the hardware for the same price? It just doesn't make sense. Sure, each brand has their own manufacturing methods, but when you think about it and take a step back, something doesn't add up. The reality is, to hit that price point, they must be cutting corners somewhere. Whether it's in the quality of materials or precision of the design, you're probably sacrificing performance or durability. But you have money and want to splurge, then absolutely get coilovers. There are high-end quality coilovers out there that offer superior damping technology. For example, Öhlin's dual flow valve, which are better than pretty much any stock car suspension. And no, they're absolutely not paying me to say that. They don't only make your car handle much better, but also more comfortable for everyday driving. We all want that, right? Just remember, your street car needs some comfort. You know, you can be fast without rattling your teeth loose. And you know, there's no better feeling than flying down back roads and canyon roads, following every curve, staying planted, and feeling like you're riding the clouds at the same time. Remember, the goal is better handling while still being able to go over a speed bump without having an anxiety attack. And now, anti-roll bars. They can completely change how your car feels like through corners. They reduce body roll in corners, keeping the car flatter and more planted without needing crazy stiff springs. You know, that means better handling without wrecking comfort. Now, how do you choose the right ones? Just like with wheels and tires, balance is key. Go too stiff and you can mess with how the car behaves. Think snap oversteer or less traction in certain situations. A well-matched set can really change the way your car behaves while keeping the right quality in check. And the result? A car that feels sharper, more predictable, and more connected to the road. You'll notice it immediately. So the bottom line is, you don't need to turn your car into a full-blown race build to enjoy a dialed-in experience. The right suspension setup should feel natural, like this is how the car should have come from the factory, just better. Better pads, fluid, and stainless steel lines will give you a solid boost in pedal feel and fade resistance without breaking the bank. But I wouldn't rush into race pads. They need to be properly heated to work well, and on a street car, you're not gonna hit those temps often. All you'll get is a bad stopping power and a bunch of squealing at every stoplight. And you know, that's great for annoying your neighbors, but not so much for driving. You know, go for something more aggressive that'll still work well in regular conditions. Brake fluid is important too. A higher boiling point fluid helps prevent fade when pushing your car. But you know, don't forget about maintenance. Fresh stock fluid works just fine for most people. And for those pushing their cars even further, steel braided lines are a good upgrade. They reduce flex compared to rubber lines, giving you a firmer, more consistent pedal feel under pressure or heat. Just make sure you choose high quality lines and inspect them regularly for dirt and gravel buildup, and also keep in mind they're tougher to bend, so an install can be a bit trickier. First start with breathing mods. Your stock intake is pretty well designed from the factory, but there are cases where it can be improved. Take this as a ridiculous example. The E46 3 Series and an E39 5 Series, both with the same M54 engine, actually have different airboxes. But an E39 has an intake silencer built in, not for performance, but to reduce noise for those executive dads cruising through Munich in 2001. In the 5 Series, they figured people want less intake noise. Makes sense for them, but for you, probably not. So you can toss that right out. So see what I mean about engineers designing cars for the masses? If you're going aftermarket and want more intake sound, go for a proper cold air intake. Because a bad intake can actually hurt performance rather than help it. But you already know that. You want the sound, right? I get it. But if you also want to have some more power, pairing that intake with a proper exhaust manifold and a full exhaust is a really good idea. So that way your car isn't just breathing better, it's also exhaling properly, not just holding it in and hoping for the best, But whatever you do with your exhaust, keep the resonator. Trust me on this one. A nice exhaust brings out the character of the engine, but delete too much and you'll end up with this drone-filled raspy mass. Ask me how I know. My E30 without a resonator? I know, terrible. Don't be like me, keep that resonator. But engine tuning makes it all come together. Your engine's factory tune is optimized for your stock intake and exhaust, so without a proper tune, you're probably not getting all the benefits. A good tune will make sure your engine is actually using the new airflow improvements to their full potential. Oh yeah, and one more thing about engine tuning. Focus on response and usable power. Most cars with electronic throttle pedals are tuned for general comfort, but you can get a lot more response with just a simple ECU tune. And usable power, a street car benefits way more from mid-range torque than from chasing high RPM peak numbers. Yeah, an 8000 plus RPM red line sounds cool, but unless you're on the track all the time, you're probably not living up there. Instead, you want a balanced power band that makes the car feel alive in the rev range you actually use. And now, bushings, the backbone of a solid suspension setup. Most cars use rubber bushings everywhere, and for a good reason. They absorb noise, harshness, and vibration, also known as NVH, making the car comfortable and livable. And for a street car, that's exactly what you want. Well, most of the time. But rubber bushings have their downsides. In high stress areas like control arms, rubber flexes under load, which can lead to unpredictable handling. Think about it. When you're mid-corner or slamming on the brakes, do you really want your camber, caster and toe adjustments shifting on their own? Probably not, right? That's where polyurethane bushings can really make a big difference. But the key here is strategic placement. You don't need to replace everything with stiff poly or solid bushings. You shouldn't. That's a one-way ticket to unbearably harsh ride. Instead, do your own research, learn how your car's suspension geometry works, and pick the right bushings for the right places. Some areas benefit from softer bushings and some from stiffer ones. For example, subframe bushings. Hard poly bushings can improve stability here without adding too much NVH, since the subframe itself has bushings where the components mount to it. Differential mounts, I would stick with rubber here. Stiff bushings here will send way too much drivetrain noise into your cabin. And now for the engine and transmission mounts, that really depends on your layout. On a 3 or 4 cylinder, forget it, you'll feel every vibration. Inline 6, it works. V6, that can be a bit harsh. V8, that's more tolerable. And V10 or V12, you can basically go with solid here. Those engines are so smooth anyways. Oh yeah, and here's something I think you should know. Even modern supercars and hypercars are surprisingly comfortable while still being razor sharp in corners. That's not magic, that's smart bushing placement. And the last thing you want is for your daily driven Golf to be harsher than a Ferrari and perform worse. Just like with everything, balance is key. This is where it gets kind of tricky because, this is where you spend all your time. You need to feel good in a street car, but also need to feel connected to the road and in control. You can go with some better seats that hold you well, but you don't need bucket seats for your daily. Just go with some nice sporty adjustable seats that will hold you well and still be comfortable for everyday use. And remember that getting in and out is just as important to how well they hold you in corners. And if you like being more snug and don't really mind big bolsters that make getting in and out harder, that's fine. But most people only realize the downsides of bucket seats only after they've installed them. and have to live with them every day. You know, you don't need to make every grocery run a pain. Short shifter. It's almost a must-have for any manual car. Well, except for some newer Porsches and almost all Hondas. You know, they have perfect shifters already from the factory. But for everyone else, a short shifter is a must-have. But make sure you get a high-quality adjustable one. You want to adjust the throw to your liking, you know. Go too short and shifting will feel like a chore. Go too long and it will feel like driving a bus. But in my opinion, more important than just the throw length is getting rid of the slop in the shifter itself. You know, if your car is old, there's likely some play in the shifter mechanism. From all those years shifting, rubber wears out. So, you know, make sure you go down there and replace every bushings and shim in the shifter mechanism. It will really tighten everything up and it will make your car shift like a brand new car. And now for the final thing, small touches that make every drive more enjoyable. And what do I mean by that? You know, if your car is old, like mine, chances are you have a bunch of squeaks and rattles in the interior. And I'm pretty sure you already know, but those things will kill the vibe of your car. So please do yourself a favor and go track them down. You know, it will make your car feel way more solid. You know, on my E30, I had this glove box rattle. You know, eventually I figured out what caused it. I threw some felt strips where the glove box meets the dash, and now it's gone, and the car feels way more solid. And on this car, my E46, I had the right door panel rattle. You know, something was buzzing, you know, and it really bugged me on long drives. Especially in the summer when it got hot, you know, those plastics and everything expanded and it made it even worse. And it really bugged me, and sometimes I went crazy listening to that. So eventually I shoved a little piece of folded tape and some felt strips between the door panel and the door, and now the rattle is gone and the car feels so much more solid. Well, almost. There's still some squeaks and rattles, you know, but you cannot really track down everything. But you can track down the most obvious one, at least in my experience. You know, I think little things like that can make you not want to drive your car anymore. Or even worse, make you want to sell it. Well, at least for me, I can't stand squeaks and rattles. But maybe you're different. Alright, now let me show you one mod that I'm honestly the most proud of. It's not about performance at all, but it's a game changer for me. Those power rear fly out windows on my E30. You see that? The E30 never even came with this option. But I retrofitted these actuators that let me open and close my rear windows with just a push of a button. No E30 has that. You know, now I can get some fresh air flowing in the cabin without having to go in and out of the car. You know, just like with this car, I can just push the button and open the rear window. You know, I really wanted this on my E30 because every time I wanted to open and close my rear windows, I had to stop, get out of the car, open them, get back in and drive off. And then, you know, I get over 80 kilometers per hour and it starts buffeting, and then I really want them closed again, right? But then I have to stop and get out again and close them. You know, it's just super weird. So I just made them electric, and it was a really big game changer for me. So you get what I'm saying? Use some creativity and do these little things, you know, retrofit stuff. You know, take stuff from newer models, implement them into your car. You know, it's really fun to play around with these things. And I think it's really these small things that make a big difference in how you experience your car. You know, not everything has to be about performance. Sometimes it's just about making it more enjoyable to drive and dialing in those little details. So whether you're planning your next mod or thinking about new directions for your build, I hope this video gave you some new ideas to consider. You know, there's no wrong way to modify your car. This is just one way that works really well for street cars. So please drop a comment below with your favorite mods. And if you like this video, please consider subscribing. It really helps me out a lot. And yeah, that's it. See you guys in the next video.